Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and this video, I'm going to be doing some commentary over the Good King Moggle Extreme fight. I usually include this at the end of my guide videos, but those videos are, exceeding 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I want to generally provide stuff that's easier to watch and more informational for people, not so much ribble-rabble. There'll be a little bit of ribble-rabble here, but we're going to mostly stick to the mechanics of the fight as they come up. As you can just see, I'm just talking over this first phase where the boss just does that conal attack that drains MP and also shoots off a mod creation. But very quickly into the fight, we get into this phase where all the Moogles are around. So we throw a few marks out there. And these marks are not in any way a kill order. I don't want people to be confused by that. We're really just marking things for our own information. Now, the first thing coming up here is Palm Flare. You just have to see, as you can see, I'm just ready for it. I see that he's stopped moving. He's preparing to cast a spell. I do some damage, and I get off of him. You want to leave the Black Mage and the White Mage at relatively high HP throughout the encounter because of needing to interrupt their spells by doing enough damage to them. If they're low on HP, you chance killing them and ending the phase too early. So there's some useful information for you right there. Now, other than that, there's a lot of unavoidable damage going around. Thief Moogle thrusts people randomly. Archer shoots people randomly. The Bard runs around and sings a damage buff song for people. The White Mage runs around throwing palm cures around. The Gladiator and the Marauder just need to be tanked by different tanks altogether. Here's another Palm Flare we're dealing with. And then you just need to deal with the Pomination attacks and the King's stacking damage buff, really. So, the toughest, the people who have it the roughest in this fight are definitely the tanks. Here's a Pomination attack, by the way. I'm just going to stop and see which one it is. As you can see, I had a crosshair on myself. And so I prefer running to the very center when you have the crosshair. It just means that people can know where you're going and you don't have to worry about too many cones going all over the place. So that was the horn was the Moogle doing the big damage buff to everybody in range of him. That stacks, so that's really what only thing that forces a tank swap mechanic in this fight. So one tank holds the Marauder, one tank holds the Gladiator, and they both constantly swap between the Good King himself. And they have to stay relatively close to each other, but you need to make sure that you're both far enough away so that the King doesn't sing and accidentally buff your Moogle. That was Mog Meteor right there. It's really simple to avoid. Just don't stand in the circles on the ground. Sorry, there's a bit of a frame drop there because OBS doesn't like the amount of frames in this. So we're already over with the first phase. It goes pretty quickly. We got them all low and we killed one. He reses them all and he heals all the ones that are still alive, and then it takes from his maximum HP. He's at about 45% HP right now. So it then repeats, and there's a few new Pomination attacks that you just have to deal with them. They're new and they're not really that difficult. One of them you're going to see right here is Mog Anthem and Mog Rain of Death. So Mog Rain is going to be this mark above my head and a few other players' heads in a second, or should be right about here. Yes. And now you also see the Moogles are stopping and dancing. You can see that there's a few of them that had what looked like a bunch of stars spawning around their body. Those are the Moogles that are going to get they're going to get a damage buff on them for only about 15 seconds. It doesn't last too long. And you definitely, as a tank, have to make sure you're ready to get enmity back on the Gladiator and the Marauder during Mog Anthem. So we've seen a lot of enmity resets here, and it's definitely hurt people. I'm pretty sure it depends on whether or not your Moogle is actually the one singing the Mog Anthem, but just always be ready to do it. It's better to be safe than sorry, right? So, here's a Mog Delta attack. As you can see, they all rush to the corners, and then they just perform it. Nothing really too special. We should be running into a Palm Holy and a Moogle go round very soon. I think Thrown for a Loop isn't going to happen until the final phase, which is really the most difficult mechanic, other than making sure you kill them all at the same time, being calm and collected. And as a DPS, this fight is one of the easiest fights a DPS can do. This fight is atrociously difficult on tanks and healers. I'd say tanks more so just because they have to move a lot. And here's Palm Holy. As you can see, I had him focus targeted so I could see him casting it. Realistically, you should probably press a button that automatically makes you target your focus target. It would definitely be way better than doing what I did, where I tab target through and get back to him. And then it's up to the healers. You just gotta Asuna the Bemoggle debuff, and everything should go okay. So then just keep spreading out your damage. Make sure you keep interrupting the Palm Flare every opportunity that you can, because you have to. If you don't, Palm Flare will kill everybody it hits. So you really need to make sure that you don't get hit by it. Same with Palm Holy. Palm Holy is really the most deadly. It does about 8k damage, I think, if it doesn't get interrupted. So you definitely don't want to get hit by Palm Holy or Palm Flare. But, okay, so we just killed a Moogle for the second time. As you can see, the fight goes really, really quickly. And I was still getting shot by a Moogle Eye Shot, but we're gathering in the middle to do a quick Cure 3 sucker. And here's what you don't do. Watch very carefully. See how we're all still standing in the center? And boop! Saw everybody's MP drop? You have to make sure that the tank who has Moggle moves out of the center before he actually starts attacking again, or that will happen. We end up having to just sing Ballad here to make up for the healers, you know, losing all their MP. It's recoverable, but you just don't want it to happen, especially if you're new in the fight. And other than that, in this phase, the Bard's AoE song. There's Thorn for a loop, by the way. As you can see, those chains let you know who's going to get taunted, and then they just get pulled into the poison puddle. You know, like I said in my guide, make sure you get the healers out, then the tanks, then the DPS. DPS, yeah, you'll be fine. The healers and the tanks are more important anyway in this fight. So, other than that, there's not really much more to say about this fight. Just tanks, be prepared to move a lot, to move the Moogle, to move the Good King and his Marauder and Gladiator subjects out of the Bard song. Make sure you're doing some proper tank swaps so that it doesn't give you too much trouble. And healers, you're probably going to need to move a lot as well. One thing about tanks and healer interaction in this fight is that tanks have to make sure that even though they're kiting the Moogle, you know, often, you don't want to kite him 100% of the time. You're just going to have to move him often. That healers, you got to be conscious of how far away that you are from the other tank. Not only for the tank swap, but for the sake of the healers being able to keep you both in range in case one or the other needs to throw a heal. You can assign one healer to each tank and then have them both sort of work on the party whenever they take damage. But you definitely want to make sure that they're not on complete opposite ends of the arena. It's just not a good idea in general. So, other than that, you really just treat this phase like phase 2, where you just kind of get them all low. You make sure you let the black mage and the white mage die last, so that way you can make sure if there's a Palm Holy or a Palm Flare, you can interrupt it. That is really, if you get them too low, that'll really get you killed really quickly. A few things we've noticed about this fight is that if you kill 2 Moogles when he goes into a phase transition, when he's healing them all, you can accidentally push an entire extra phase, which immediately kills you because he's gonna do that revive heal thing twice, and that'll immediately trigger Mog Meteor, which means he'll have 50% of his HP by the time you get to the point where you have to burn him down for Momentum Moogle, and you're not gonna be able to do 50% of his HP and damage when he's going to do Momentum Moogle. You won't be able to do it. And another thing we've actually had happen is when we kill 2 at the same time, sometimes the phase just bugs out and the entire fight becomes bugged. The king doesn't lose his invincibility debuff, and you just can't kill him. So you have to basically stand in front of him and die, which is when you learn how little damage the king himself actually does. He really does negligible damage when he's not standing in that Bard buff. We had to stand in front of him for a good 2.5 minutes to get ourselves killed, and between that and people trolling with the healing limit break and everything. So we're finishing off all the Moogles right now, and then that's it. We're just going to limit break them. It's going to be over, and we're going to walk away with the loot. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this video. I'm going to try and get a tank and healing perspective of this as soon as I can. It's not too hard of a fight. Don't let it intimidate you. Don't let all the Moogles around the fight intimidate you. Just do it. Watch the guide. I guarantee you'll do all right on it. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the guide itself if you're looking for some more information about each individual mechanic. I will include a link for that in the description below. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and of course follow me on Twitch where I do live stream. We'll be getting back to a regular live streaming schedule soon. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.